Samsung has reportedly made its final decision on the processor for next year's Galaxy S26 series. And once again, it's going to be Qualcomm's Snapdragon chip, specifically the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2. This news may not come as a shock to many, especially after recent rumors suggested this chip was the most suitable option for the S26 lineup due to its performance and pricing. Samsung had high hopes of debuting its own in-house processor, the Exynos 2600, built on a 2nm process, but it seems like things didn't go as planned. Just like last year with the Exynos 2500, Samsung once again faced delays in the development of its new chip. And as a result, they've decided to go with Qualcomm's more reliable and readily available Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2. This might be disappointing news for fans who were expecting Samsung to finally deliver a competitive Exynos chip in its flagship phones. The company has been trying hard to bring back its own processors into the spotlight, but manufacturing issues and lower-than-expected yields have forced Samsung to delay their plans once again. According to reports, Samsung's 10nm chip production is not quite ready yet. Although the company has reached a 50% yield rate in its development process, it still needs to hit around 70% to be considered stable enough for mass production. Until then, relying on Snapdragon remains the safer and more efficient option for the S26 series. This situation mirrors what happened with the Galaxy S25 series. Samsung initially planned to launch the Exynos 2500 with the S25 phones, but couldn't get it done on time. Eventually, that chip made its debut with the Galaxy Z Flip 7 instead. Now, there's a good chance that history will repeat itself. We might see the Exynos 2600 appear in the upcoming Galaxy Z Flip 8, just like the previous model. For many users, this is actually good news. Not everyone is a fan of Exynos chips, especially those who've experienced performance or efficiency issues with them in the past. With Snapdragon now being used in Galaxy flagship phones for 2 consecutive years, it's a relief for people who prefer the consistency and power that Qualcomm brings to the table. The Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2 is not just a safe choice, it's also a powerful one. It already powers the Galaxy S25 series and has proven itself to be fast, efficient, and reliable. While Samsung's long-term goal is to become more independent, by using its own silicon, the company can't afford to compromise the user experience in its flagship phones. But that doesn't mean Samsung has given up on Exynos. In fact, the company is still working on improving its chip-making technology. If they can increase the yield and make the 2nm process more stable, then we might eventually see Exynos make a comeback in the Galaxy S series. This is important for Samsung because having its own processor like Apple does with its series chips can give it more control over performance, optimization, and innovation. The comparison to Apple is important here. Apple's switch to its own silicon with the M1 and later chips gave a major boost to the Mac and MacBook lineups. Samsung is trying to do the same for its Galaxy phones. But building chips that can compete with Qualcomm's best is no easy task. It requires cutting-edge technology, consistent manufacturing, and years of research and development. Until that happens, Snapdragon is the go-to solution. And if the current plan holds, all Galaxy S26 models, whether it's the base S26, the S26, or the S26 Ultra, will ship with the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2 across all markets. That also means no more regional differences in performance, which has been a big issue in the past for Galaxy users. To sum it up, Samsung has once again chosen reliability over risk. The Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2 will power the Galaxy S26 series, while the Exynos 2600 waits on the sidelines. Maybe we'll see it next year in the Flip 8, or maybe Samsung will finally get its chip ready in time for the Galaxy S27. But for now, it's Snapdragon all the way. Whether you're a fan of Exynos or not, one thing's clear: Samsung isn't giving up on its own chips anytime soon. The goal is still to match or beat Qualcomm, but for now, users can look forward to another year of powerful Snapdragon performance in the Galaxy S26 series.